At the height of the Pacific War, America needed to code its communications to prevent interception. They decided on a unique scheme, one that would use the language of an ancient warrior people of the deserts and take it to the heart of the Pacific to help defeat Japan. This is Knowledge Voyage.
But before this video starts, don't forget to hit subscribe and hit the bell so that you can get all of our weekly videos about history. Thank you.
During World War II, America was struggling to keep its radio signals a secret. Given the long distances signals had to travel across the Pacific, it meant Japan had much more time to listen into these signals and intercept them. So how to create an unbreakable code? The answer lay with the Navajo tribe. The Navajo are an indigenous tribe of the southwest USA, with their homes spread across what is now Arizona and New Mexico. They also speak a rich and complicated language, considered by many experts to be the hardest language of all for non-native speakers to learn. It was the richness and complexity of the Navajo language that caught the attention of the US Army, specifically Philip Johnson. Johnson had been raised by white missionary parents on a Navajo reservation, so had a unique insight into just how hard the language was to learn for non-Navajo people. He was confident that the Japanese would never crack it. Navajo men were recruited for the armed forces, and these men would become known as the Code Talkers. They were not only going to use the Navajo language, they would be using a version of it dotted with code words. This included words that had no Navajo equivalent, which was particularly true of modern weapons and machines. For example, the word for submarine was beesh leho, which means literally iron fish, and the word for bomber was jeso, which means buzzard, a type of bird. Military ranks, an absent concept in traditional Navajo warrior culture, were also represented by words for types of leaves or trees. Navajo troops were required to learn the code by heart, as they could not risk a written code book being captured by the enemy. Not only did the Navajo Code Talkers need to do their already hard jobs as Marines, they also had to memorize a complex code in their native language as well. The Navajo went into battle in the Pacific. They were specifically kept away from Europe due to rumors the Germans had suspicions Native American languages may be used for codes and were studying them. In the Pacific there were initial problems, as Native Americans were sometimes mistaken for Japanese troops and shot at. This is because, to the untrained eye, some Native Americans can look Asian, a legacy of their ancestral homes in Northeast Asia. Another issue was when Hispanic soldiers were captured. Because some Hispanic individuals bear a resemblance to Native Americans, Hispanic prisoners of war were sometimes ghoulishly interrogated by the Japanese, in the belief they would reveal the code. Of course they could not, and not even all Navajo speakers were necessarily aware of the code. Hispanic soldiers, soldiers from other native tribes, and non-Code Talker Navajos all suffered a similar fate if captured by the Japanese. The Navajo Code Talkers served with great courage and distinction. After the war, the US admitted that without secure Navajo Code Talkers, the successful and critical invasions of Saipan and Iwo Jima may not have been possible. The Japanese never broke the code, a major reason that these vitally important invasions were a success. The code was so effective that it was not made public until 1968, when the Code Talker program was declassified. Since then, presidents of both parties have paid tribute to the courage of the Code Talkers. As of 2021, just 4 of the original 300 Code Talkers are still alive, all of them very advanced in age. But when these brave men finally do pass on, their families and tribe can take great pride in the key role they played in victory in the Pacific.
Thanks for watching everyone. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.